9 minutes. Minus 8 minutes. Minus 7 minutes. Minus 6 minutes. Minus 5 minutes. minutes. T-minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
It's a definite case of how about that. Again, I don't need a medium today to tell you this is going to be fun. A disclaimer right out of the gate. I will take only partial blame if this show gets off the rails today, okay? Okay, because I'm instigating it. Not really on purpose, but I just feel like it's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun. Hi. We're streaming on the Game Plus TV network, our own YouTube channel. I've given myself not enough headroom, but I'll fix that. As somebody said, Mr. Big Head. Yeah, it's just you and me solo here in the opening hour. Hello, the Larry King of Sports Time. Hello. And we're ready to rock and roll for the next hour, and then into hour two, we're going to be joined by, so I'm just bringing up the text line here. We're going to be joined by Chris Dingman, my good friend. Great story there with Dinger. But I see the comments are already going, so let's jump right into this warm-up brought to you by our friends at Uniglobe Carefree Action Travel out of Vancouver and really all throughout Western Canada. You're saying, what are they saying? Well, viewer Jason and Red Deer's like, support Aaron Rodgers. Uh-oh, what kind of crap is he slinging now? Of all the things that we're going to get to today, which is an NFL training camp tour, Major League Baseball, CFL Week 10, National Hockey League, Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yeah. The induction's coming up this Saturday. It's one of the highlights of my year. This is the one thing that since it came down yesterday, I couldn't wait to talk about today. No Scruffy today. He's at the lake. And in true Scruffy fashion, the one weekend that he picks to go to the lake, it's the coldest day of the summer. And rather than bother people to come on with me, I'm like, I can handle it. So point one is really all of NFL. But we're going to go, let me read the script on this, and then I'll give my thoughts. I don't even know what sports blog I took this from. After his scorch, I just Googled Aaron Rodgers, Fauci. Send. Search. After his scorching rant about ESPN's coverage of the Diana Rossini-Mike Vrabel scandal, ESPN had no comment on the matter in response to Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Per ProFootballTalk.com, ESPN had no comment in response to Aaron Rodgers. However, the Pittsburgh Steelers issued a statement to Pittsburgh's Action News 4 in response to their quarterback's Monday comments on the Pat McAfee show about Dr. Anthony Fauci, with whom Rodgers took aim at earlier in his rant on the Pat McAfee took aim. Hang on. Appearing on the Pat McAfee Show, Rogers called ESPN a gutless organization that has no integrity. He specifically called out the network's coverage, or lack thereof, of the Rossini-Vrabel scandal. Remember, Diana Rossini worked at ESPN before becoming the Athletics' lead NFL insider, a position she has since resigned from. So through all, did you watch the clip? Please tell me you watched. I barely got off the air here today because, as you know, McAfee and us are on the air at the same time. So I barely got off the air yesterday, and this clip was making the rounds. And Rogers just sat back. And I'm going to tell you why I'm even asking you whether you support Aaron Rodgers or not, because he's like, he without really naming names, he was like, this ESPN reporter who had a vote for Coach of the Year and MVP. How come that wasn't covered at ESPN? Called Fauci a coward. And so we're all kind of following this. So we're in the opening segment. We're coming in hot. Oh, shoot, we only got 4 minutes left in this opening segment here, the warm-up for our friends at Uniglobe Carefree Travel. So my point is this. The poll question for EMJ Marketing is simply, do you support Aaron Rodgers really on all of this? We're going to go down the Fauci road, the Rodgers road, the Vrabel Rossini road, all of that. That's the one. I have to vote no. I don't support Aaron Rodgers, and here's why. And just so you know, the poll's been up for a while on our Instagram story at the Rod Pedersen Show. 75% say they support Aaron Rodgers. And this is where I said this could go off the rails, because I know we've got a lot of new viewers since this thing launched June 3rd, 2019. So we weren't even on the air a year before COVID hit. And we were fortunately able and allowed to stay on the air throughout COVID for a variety of reasons. But as far as the Fauci stuff and the anti-vax stuff, I'm going to tell you right now, in case you didn't know, politically, I lean to the right. Center right, but definitely the right. So my friends are all the Aaron Rodgers type. And I'm not going to name names, but I got vaccinated because I had to get vaccinated to broadcast Western Hockey League games in the bubble that we did, just like the National Hockey League did it with the playoff games in Edmonton and Toronto. If I wanted to call Connor Bedard's games as a rookie on television, which I did, I had to get vaccinated. So I had a player, I'm not going to name him, and if I gave you a hint, you'd guess him immediately, and he wouldn't care that I would throw his name out today, but I don't need to cause problems for him. He's a good buddy of mine. But he came into the studio right around this time. Well, it was clearly afterwards, and he asked if I was vaccinated, and I said, yeah, I am. Oh, you caved. I had to, bro. Back off. Do I agree with where this is coming from, the origins of it, the actions that are being taken? Absolutely not. I don't. I'm with you on that. But if I wanted to work, I had to get vaccinated. But I was saying things on the website, rodpedersen.com. I was saying things on this show, and I got a call. And by the way, so as far as everything Aaron Rodgers is saying, I support him on that. I do. Don't say it on ESPN. Unbelievably disrespectful of Aaron Rodgers to go on Pat McAfee's show and say that. The guy works for ESPN. He's making $60 million a year from ESPN. Aaron Rodgers was removed from the Pat McAfee show last year for causing a distraction. And he goes on during training camp yesterday. He didn't want to talk about the Steelers and the new coach. First thing he launches into, he was asked by McAfee about the camp, and he launched, I'm going to plead the fifth like Fauci. And away they went down this road. I mean, McAfee's not going to lose his job over it, but if I was ESPN, who I'm not even going to argue, he called Fauci a coward. And as I said, ESPN gutless, no integrity. I'll say I've learned multiple times, if you bite the hand that feeds you, it ain't good for you. Don't do that. So I would suggest Aaron Rodgers will not be on there again. How are we doing for time, producer Corey? If I was ESPN, I would be saying don't put him on ever again. Ever. On any show. Just because of how thin-skinned the people are that operate these organizations now. You know what I mean? I think we see Aaron Rodgers, not just about Fauci, anything. If he's talking about his win on Monday Night Football, they're not airing it. So the vote for me is no. So if I frame that properly for you, give us your thoughts on that. Give us your vote on that on our poll for EMJ Marketing. Thank you, bud. And we'll be back in a moment. Coming in hot. I know that we can handle this solo for a few days out of the week. We'll be right back here on the RP Show.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away. ultimatefanzone.ca or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
In today's fast-paced world, we know you don't always have time to cook a nutritious meal. The Mad Greek in Moose Jaw's got you covered with delicious takeout and delivery specials, even for large groups or occasions. Authentic Greek cuisine, pizza, ribs, and more. There's something for everyone to enjoy. Offering licensed dining, delivery, and their takeout window is open to get your Greek to go. For more information and to view the online menu, visit themadgreekeatery.com.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection, booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Yeah, I was surfing my phone in the break and I forgot to go give myself Max Headroom. Hands up, who remembers Max Headroom from the 80s? Okay, and also being ensconced in your comments here from the viewers. 902-518-33. So we opened up talking about Aaron Rodgers. We got a lot to get to today, so settle in, pack a lunch, fill up your coffee. Text line is for Western Dodge. From trucks to SUVs, Western Dodge has what you're looking for. Visit their showroom or online at westerndodge.ca. And while we're at it, when we talk hockey, it's for the Mad Greek Eatery. Experience authentic Greek flavors right in Moose Jaw at the Mad Greek Eatery, open until 11 p.m. Order online, pick up, or dine in at themadgreekeatery.com. Oh, you're going to be hearing a lot of them when we turn the page over to NFL season. You're watching NFL football. You're going to be ordering pizza. That's what you're going to do. So, I know A lot of people joined us late. The opening segment entirely to Aaron Rodgers lambasting ESPN, calling them a gutless organization with no integrity yesterday, and calling Dr. Anthony Fauci a coward. So from the audience, I just say, do you support him? I said no because I'm like, it's okay to have your opinions. Have a little respect for Pat McAfee, who's supposed to be your friend, and you're on his show, which airs on that network. So from the audience, Jeremy in Winnipeg writes, and he says, Rodgers on a heater yesterday. Jay, this is a little, put a pin in the map where everybody's watching from today live and listening, WQVZ Radio. Jason says, I saved the clip to watch later because I just saw it suggested on my YouTube feed. 71% say no, they don't support Aaron Rodgers. Interestingly enough, 75% say they do on our Instagram vote. Jason goes on to say, sounds like Theron Fleury. Right, but Theron is respectful enough to not come on this show and spout his political views and all the rest because he knows that I don't want to hear it. I don't think Pat McAfee wanted to hear that yesterday. Continuing on. Well, Virginia Eric says, I support his right to say and believe what he chooses to. Probably not wise to go on Pat McAfee's show and vent. It may cause a rift in the locker room. No, I think they're focused on football there. And the fact that McAfee would, why did he have him on? Because he's Aaron Rodgers. But as I continue, not done yet, but Jeremy in Winnipeg says, I missed a bit, but to me it's crazy. Romo may lose his job over a DUI, but players are held accountable to a way less punishment. Well, that's a rule that's been around longer than time. Different rules for different people. That's just the way that it is. I don't have a lot of time for it's not fair. There's a lot of crap that's happened in my life that's not fair. I've got the brakes on a lot of things that people would say weren't fair. It's the way it is. Case-by-case scenario. Tony Romo shouldn't lose his job. The question is, will he? And that still remains to be seen. It's a different time than it used to be. Rob from Las Vegas writes in, says, I watched the Aaron Rodgers clip. I'll simply say I'll be glad when his career is over and he no longer has a mainstream platform. Boom. He was removed from ESPN 2 years. Well, he wasn't on all of last year, which nobody noticed until it was pointed out by Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk. We noticed he was gone. That's just today's society now. He's back one time and causes all this crap. And that's, by the way, the part that I don't understand. When they say bad publicity is better than none, do you think ESPN's happy with this clip being viewed millions of times, that they're being called gutless with no integrity? I can't see why you would like that, but I've never been in their position. I wouldn't want anybody saying it about me. Jeff the Stamps fan says, why does Rodgers have to weigh in on politics? That's the point, and I think it's incredible. I've voted no. My vote for this is no. I don't support Aaron Rodgers. Like, time and place, read the room. It's unbelievably disrespectful for him to walk onto the set of the McAfee. Like I often say, that's our house. I'll be honest, I'm not going to name any names, but we're sitting here on a clear path right now talking about Aaron Rodgers. We're going to get to the rest of the NFL in a second. And when people come in and they want to talk about other things, and what are you doing? I feel like it's like, I've served a meal for you, and you're sitting down at my kitchen table, and you're like, I don't like this. Can I get something else? I don't want steak. I'd rather have, I'd throw it at you. Eat what's put in front of you. At least that's the way I was raised. Vancouver Eric writes in, there he is. We missed you yesterday, Vancouver Eric. There was a lot of BC and Lions talk yesterday with Tad Edu. He says, Aaron Rodgers, the more he opens his mouth, the less I want to hear. Right? I mean, he got a... can't say it wasn't entertaining. I will say, I can't say it wasn't entertaining. He just called out ESPN. How come he didn't cover the coach and his girlfriend that works for you? The Steelers issued a statement, by the way, saying he's welcome to his opinion. I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe one day somebody will sit me down and explain all of this to me. I feel like it will have to be God, and he's going to say, It doesn't make sense, Rod. You have to stop trying to make it make sense. Like when Tyreek Hill got arrested on his way into the stadium. I'll never forget. I got up. I was in Florida making coffee, turned on TV Sunday morning. Pre-game show. Here's Tyreek Hill in handcuffs on the boulevard out front of the stadium. What? He mouthed off the cops, got lippy. They cuffed him and stuffed him. 2 days later, 1 day later, the Dolphins sent out a statement defending the. What? Then they retract the statement? Carlos in Indiana says, will Aaron Rodgers be back next week? No, I don't think so. Vintage Sasko writes that he says, Aaron Rodgers and Pat McAfee are kayfabing. Anything for dollars. You get real, not kayfabe on the RP show, brother. I don't even know what kayfabe is, which I feel like is a good thing that I don't know what that is. And thank you, by the way, as we move on. Jeremy in Winnipeg says it's early, but Patrick Mahomes looking unreal in camp after the injury. The movements, the throws. Thank you. So we're on point. Enough on Aaron Rodgers. Virginia Eric says, spot on, Rod. About what? What am I spot on? I feel like I'm spot on everything, but also nothing. 20 minutes into this show on Aaron Rodgers. I'm done with it. We've all got it off our chest. The warm-up is brought to you by Uniglobe Carefree Travel. Join CFL legends Adam Bighill, Willie Jefferson, Jake Seresna on a 7-day cruise departing from Fort Lauderdale, Florida on February 20th. A once-in-a-lifetime experience for CFL fans. Prices from $18.99. Cruise only. Contact Neil Chark at Uniglobe Travel. Neil at uniglobecarefree.ca. Kevin the Medium's going to be on it. Everybody's asking if I'm going to be on it. I don't plan right now to be on it, but I might be on. I can't tell you what I'm doing in February. I can't, and I won't. Sorry, just how I roll. Point 1B is the NFL training camp tour. If you want to keep talking about Tony Romo and Aaron Rodgers and Pat McAfee, that's fine. But we are going to move on. Two-time Pro Bowler Bijan Robinson and the Atlanta Falcons reached agreement on a 3-year extension worth up to $75 million that will now make him the highest-paid running back in NFL history. Okay, for the Falcons fans, are there any of you out there? Our former producer, Clark, was one. And there's a guy, because of the Falcons, has fan baggage. Do they even have a hope in the NFC South? I don't think so. I'm reading headlines from ESPN.com. Bears safety Kobe Bryant out 8 to 10 weeks. Report. Wide receiver A.J. Brown shakes off dislocated thumb at Patriots camp. Sean Payton to talk to former Saint Taysom Hill about Broncos. Panthers remain mum on extension for quarterback Bryce Young. So those are just some of the headlines. I'll say this. I watched a hell of a lot of training camp coverage yesterday with the insiders. And here's the thing that stuck out to me out of all of it. And I loved it. Well, a lot of things. I should have made notes, but I'm pretty good with that mentally. But was it Cleveland camp where the quarterbacks had cameras, GoPros on their helmets? What the hell are you doing? I mean, I don't know if they're going to finish 32nd or all, but they're probably going to be bottom 5, I would think. Sorry, Tony, the former Browns fan. What do you got GoPros for? You're revolutionizing. It's bad enough. What looks worse, GoPros on the helmets or those stupid kazoo-looking pillows? Which the football people tell me don't help a damn thing. They say that it actually makes it worse. That's what the football people tell me, those stupid pillows, but at least it looks good. What else? Well, the other thing is Alex Smith and Maurice Jones-Drew are sitting at whatever camp they were at. They don't even need a host anymore because here's two guys that speak well and look good on camera. We don't need guys like me. Welcome to 2026 in the media. I'm going to read a couple more headlines just to get through it and then come back to what you all have to say. Alejandro Kirk homered. Jesus Sanchez and Ernie Clement each had an RBI, and the Blue Jays beat Houston 3-1 Monday night, snapping the Astros 6-game win streak. That would be a pretty good poll question, actually. Will you watch the Blue Jays the rest of the way? It's in my commentary today. When you got to get out ChatGPT, when you got to get out a calculator to figure out what your chances are to make the playoffs in August, the first week, you're done. You're done. You're done. Will you be watching Blue Jays? I probably won't be, but you know what? I never lied about that. Told you all the time. This show is NHL, CFL, NFL, and Blue Jays when they're winning. They're not winning. So we're moving on. Point 3, CFL Week 10 look ahead. There's no Scruffy here today to make his picks. Should we pick him for him? They're brought to you by Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon, Pump Jack's Weyburn, Pump Jack's Cathedral. That's the place I've eaten at the most this summer. They're incidentally also our biggest sponsor. Pump Jack's. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. They're hosting a watch party for the home game Friday night. Here is your schedule. Thursday, Calgary at Toronto in a rematch of the 1971 Grey Cup. Never gets old, does it? Oh, I keep forgetting. My mini helmets are in the trunk of the car. At least I got a rider one. I want to do a Lee Corso. Thursday, Calgary. I'm just reading the schedule. We don't have time to really get deep into these. We'll come back after the break. Friday, Ottawa at Saskatchewan. What day is it? Perk up a little bit when we're talking CFL. I'm not going to lie. Saturday, doubleheader. Edmonton at Montreal. Hamilton at BC. When it comes to the Canada's game of the week, I mean, that's the reason I asked. What day do we do that? Did we do it Wednesday? We've done it for years. Canada's game of the week. I will anoint it right now. If you want to crown their ass, crown them. It's Edmonton at Montreal Saturday. Come on. Which, I have some Fajardo thoughts. I have a list of notes here, by the way, that I'm going to get to. You're all going to be thoroughly entertained. Social media is annoying me. That's why we didn't have a baseball game at home last night. The Millers were on the road, won our 40th of the year. But I hate when I'm left to my own devices because I surf social media too much, and it just pisses me off. More people bitching about the fact there's no CFL game Sunday. People bitching about the fact there's no Saturday. I miss the Saturday night games. That's my bad. I'm looking at it. Could you just go for a walk? Go to a movie. For God's sakes, get outside. Stop bitching. What the hell is wrong with every bitch? We'll do our picks after the break. Chris Dingman is coming up in hour 2. I wanted to tell you a story about Chris Dingman. Dinger! It's dawned on me a long time ago that I'm old. We're old. He's old. First-round pick in 1994 by the Calgary Flames. We were staying in a Calgary hotel a couple of years ago, and my wife comes into the room, and she says, she's like, there is a mountain of a man working out down in the hotel gym. I said, well, let's go find out who it is. Put on my gym gear, run down there. It's Chris Dingman. Never met him before. He had 385 NHL games played with the Flames, Avalanche, Hurricanes, and Lightning. Won 2 Stanley Cups. We're working out beside each other. What's that, Corey? What do you got? Oh! I'll finish this on the other side of the break. RP Show.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away. ultimatefanzone.ca or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs Guy through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
In today's fast-paced world, we know you don't always have time to cook a nutritious meal. The Mad Greek in Moose Jaw's got you covered with delicious takeout and delivery specials, even for large groups or occasions. Authentic Greek cuisine, pizza, ribs, and more. There's something for everyone to enjoy. Offering licensed dining, delivery, and their takeout window is open to get your Greek to go. For more information and to view the online menu, visit themadgreekeatery.com.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
All right, right back at it. The commercial breaks are just a pause in our story. So I'll get to all what you have to say. Nice stuff. I got the stuff coming up from you here from Vintage Sasko. So let me just finish the Dingman thing. So we had never met each other, but these introductions don't take long. And all of a sudden we're talking for an hour. He's on the treadmill. I'm on the elliptical. And he's from Edmonton, played for the Brandon Wheat Kings. I hated playing against him because not only was he filling the net, but I'm like, well, he's going to hurt some of our guys. And most games, he did hurt some of our guys. But I just turned to him. He's a very, very intelligent, thoughtful guy. And we come from completely opposite spectrum politically. But the wildest thing is we could actually talk about it and stay friends. And he's coming on the air today. We're not going to get into the political road. And it was an American thing because he was living in Florida for a long time after he played with the Lightning and won a Stanley Cup. And obviously that's where I live now. And it was our theory on illegal aliens doesn't match, nor the president's. But it's fine. We stayed friends. And I turned to him. I said, "You're not just a bruiser." And he laughed. And he's got stories about Tortorella, obviously, and winning a cup with Torts and winning a cup with Ray Bourque and playing with Sakic and all this. That's the thing. And he texted me this morning, "What are we talking about?" I said, "Hockey. I think you can handle that." He writes me back, "Ha." And I will say, it reminds me that there's a lot of people in my post-Saskatchewan life. Let's call this the post-Saskatchewan life, even though I'm here right now, that have helped me out immeasurably. One of those is Bob Marjanovic, the voice of the BC Lions. We were at a Super Bowl party together in L.A., and it was my first Super Bowl, his 30th, and he's taking me around, introducing me to everybody, and I'm like, "Moj, you don't need to do that. You don't need to. No, you need to do this. You're going to be in this world now." And it was like I said, Chris Carter I knew, Michael Irvin I knew, but Solomon Wilcots, Jim McMahon, RG3, Moj, you didn't need to do that. And in Florida, Jeff Rimmer, this just popped into my head, the Hall of Fame voice of the Panthers, Florida Panthers and Columbus Blue Jackets. He introduced me to Jody Shelley, and I get such a kick out of this because the Dingman thing reminded me of Jody Shelley. I knew every single thing about Jody Shelley within 5 minutes of meeting that guy. Again, I mean everything. Personally, you name it, because he just spilled his guts. And I turned to him, and he's just a very, very, very special guy. Like lead color guy, NHL on TNT, does the Blue Jackets, unbelievably hardworking guy. And we got into personal stuff. And I'm like, how the hell? Because Vintage Sasko, you'll like this. At the CKRM Hall of Fame thing we'd had a couple weeks. I'm thinking about Jim Smalley. I'm like, I worked next to our ag director for 20 years. Jim Smalley, don't know anything about you. Nothing. 20 years. Next desk over. No, nothing. And I know everything in 5 minutes about Jody Shelley. How does that work? Why? But I said the same thing to Jody Shelley. I said, you're not just a beefcake. And he's like, what? I said, I thought you were just a pretty face. That's why you're on TV, like dead behind the eyes, shallow, like most of them. No, you're smart. You're deep. And he's exchanged numbers. I got to get Shelley on, actually. But he works so bloody hard. He's probably sleeping for the entire months of July and August. Wayne in BC writes in a machine gun. He says, good morning, RP squad. It's the dog days of summer, but because we're in the middle of the CFL season, I'm a happy camper. It's one of the best, if not the best starts to the CFL season. I'll only say this. I say this to Wayne and anybody else that's saying this is the greatest season of CFL football. We say that every year. And I love you guys. I'm not throwing it back at you. We say that every single year. This is the best season ever. It's the same thing about the Stanley Cup playoffs. We say it every year. It's just great product. Wayne also says, I've never been a big fan of Aaron Rodgers, but because he's a great NFL quarterback, he gets to spout off about politics. He says, unfortunately, Pat McAfee made a mistake having Rodgers on his show. I mean, I don't know. I guess Pat McAfee has immunity. I mean, I don't understand. I've brought in guys on my show. They've said things that I got fried for. I got fried for things that I don't really understand. Like, how do you rip ESPN to this degree and just keep getting invited back on? I don't understand it. I guess, as they say, ratings win. Is it worth it? Is it really worth it? Phil the Thrill writes, he says, I miss the days when someone would say anything, and rather if people agreed or deemed them crazy, people would just move on. Now it seems some folk just get their panties in a bunch over anything. I know. Oh, Mikey Wynn watching in Winnipeg. He says, it's Niners camp. They had the GoPros on their helmets. Okay, yeah, that sounds right. It was one of them. That's the only problem when they go zing, 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 zing. It's pretty fast for a guy with me with ADD. What causes ADD? Why do you ask? I forgot. I'm just sifting through the comments here. Yeah, here it is. From Vintage Sasko, he goes, he just got a fax from Scruffy. A facsimile just came through, and he's got his pick. So Vintage Sasko, formerly known as Fake Gainer, has Scruffy's picks from. Did you notice all the road teams won in the CFL in Week 9? Did you notice that? All the road teams won. I'm just putting that out there. I'm sure y'all did. Scruffy, via Vintage Sasko, is picking Toronto to beat Calgary. I'll take the Stampeders. You're welcome, Jeff the Stamps fan. Friday, Ottawa at Sask in a rematch of the 1966 Grey Cup. I'll take the Riders. Scruffy's taking the Riders via Vintage Sasko. On Saturday in Canada's Game of the Week in a rematch of the 2002 Grey Cup, it's Edmonton Elk-Emos at Montreal. Scruffy taking the Alouettes. Me taking Edmonton. Mine Cody. And Hamilton at BC on late Saturday afternoon. We've both got the BC Lions and a cat fight to win that one. I think that's the only Grey Cup that's never happened. Somebody want to check on that? I don't even know what a kayfabe is, and I feel like I'm not missing out on anything by not. I'm even saying it right. Vintage Sasko writes in and says, Rod, I'll explain later, but Jim Smalley is the ultimate kayfaber. John says, on my way to the gym. Oh, sorry, on my way to Gimli. Big difference there. He says, have a great show, Rod. Nice Jays shirt, by the way. Well, you can't watch us on the way to Gimli? Oh, I got all these notes I haven't even got to yet. But there's a recovery center, a treatment center, a rehab center for addicts and alcoholics there that they brought me out for a tour of it, working in this career that I do now, doing interventions and putting people in treatment. And lovely town, Gimli. It's the Aurora Recovery Center. It's on the shores of Lake Winnipeg. I'm like, my God, I'd like to stay here for a while. Had horseback riding, an Olympic gym, hot tubs, friggin' Red Seal chef. And I'm like, why do I smell Crown Royal? And trust me, I'd know. Like, oh, that's the Crown Royal distillery over there. It's like barrels of whiskey the size of round bales right across the street. I'm like, right across from the street from the Alcoholics and Addicts? That's the Crown Royal factory? Yep. But it works, I guess. Thank you, Vintage, or John for the nice comments. He says, best darn sports show right here. And a lot of other things, let's be honest. Virginia Eric says, RG3, real immature during his Redskins days. Kirk Cousins navigated that situation a lot better. RG3, pretty solid at covering college football. I met him and his wife at that Super Bowl party, thanks to the Moj. And I found RG3 to be a pretty cool guy. You know, and by the way, we got so much going on. From the comments, my word. Oh, I see. Alex Smith and Maurice Jones-Drew were at camp with the Niners. Thank you, Mike in Winnipeg, Ice Time Sports. That's right, because they were interviewing John Lynch. Not that John Lynch. We'll be right back on the RP Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly, we built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away, ultimatefanzone.ca, or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I appreciate you all tuning in today. I really do. It's not hard to do this on my own when I have you, and we're doing it all together. 908-518-3033 is the text line for Western Dodge. You know, it's interesting. When I first started doing talk radio, I was telling this last week or the week before, we had a consultant. His name was Alex Forsyth. He was from Dundas, Ontario, and he had consulted with Bob McCowan. You Americans have no idea who the Bobcat is. He's a legend in Canada. And he said the Bobcat just wants to sit in the box and talk for 3 hours. He doesn't want to take calls. There was no text messages at that time. He just wants to talk for 3 hours. I can't do that. I'm not that egotistical or arrogant to think people want to listen to just what I have to say for 3 straight hours. Bobcat did. Anybody that knows him would not be shocked by that. But what we learned way back then was that there's a million ways to do this. And what I say, be entertaining. That'll be the book. Just find a way to do it. Find a way. Maybe that'll be the title. Find a way. Anyways, we're talking about McAfee. Why would he have Aaron Rodgers on? Is bad publicity better than none? Blah, 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 all of that. That's the poll question. Do you support Aaron Rodgers? 71% of our YouTube voters saying no, they don't. And I don't either. You could have your COVID opinions. Mine match his in a lot of ways. But I got the call by the government at that time. I was still living in Sask. And just so everybody knows, by the way, not that it really matters, but voice of the Rough Riders forever. It's my hometown province. It's any place I wanted to be. Had many, many opportunities to leave, but I didn't want to leave. But when it was time to go, it was time to go. But at that, and leave and go to Florida, and it's been amazing. I mean, I love the fact that I come back in the summer. I was talking to my bank this morning. She's like, you have the best life, best of both worlds. Yes, I do. And I know it. That's why you don't hear me bitch. But anyways, my point is I was pretty tight with the premier's friend of mine, still is, health minister at the time, Jim Ryder, and I got the call. Zip it. So I just kind of wondered, that was the end of me giving my COVID opinions. That's all I'll say. Anyways, Scott writes in and says, McAfee isn't even on TSN anymore. He's not. I wouldn't even know. But I mean, we're not on Game Plus right now. They say we're going to be back on Game Plus at some, I don't know. That's show business. Doesn't change what McAfee has to do. Doesn't change what I have to do. We still got a show to do. Interesting. Virginia Eric says, Teflon Pat. Teflon. Nothing sticks to him. Clearly it doesn't, because even he's called out people at ESPN and hasn't lost his job. When I call people out, I get shown the door. So Arlen Bruce checks in and says, great day, RP. I was watching the Gretzky Cup at 11 p.m. last night with Canada and ... Who won? Were they replaying it? Because I watched it live. Canada won 7-2, and who the hell were they? It doesn't matter. I believe they were playing Czechia. No, Switzerland. And I was watching it because it was on. It's funny. Brent from Wellington, Florida yesterday was complaining we weren't talking hockey. And all of a sudden, and I was joking about the Henlika Gretzky Cup. All of a sudden, I'm watching it because it's on. And I'll be honest, Ryan Rishaug is on the desk, and he did amazing. He's such a great guy. And Cody Fajardo was at the game. I have that written down because fans there were sending photos into our Facebook with Cody Fajardo from Rogers Place in Edmonton, the Nevada Wolfpack star quarterback, and Edmonton El Camos QB. And I won't stand for a certain amount of crap. Out of respect for WQVZ, where we're on the radio in the Bible Belt, I'm going to limit my swearing. I can't of my guests, but I can limit my own. But I'm not going to stand for crap. Like this Bomber fan wrote in and said, there's two sides to Cody. Guess what, you jackwagon? There's two sides to all of us. Why don't you try pissing me off sometime? You're going to see a side of me that's not real nice. Anybody with a backbone has a couple of sides. Let's just say his name is Scott, the Blue Bomber fan. So for whatever reason, Cody Fajardo, I posted a photo of him with a corn dog from 7 years ago. People just want to crap on this guy. Caught myself. And I shouldn't fight his battles for him, but he's tired of fighting the battles. I don't get it. So he called out his receivers. That's the thing that everybody's still talking about 7 years later. He threw him under the bus. What I will say is, was he wrong? All I'll say was he wrong? And secondly, he was 27. Did you ever do or say anything at 27 that you wish you hadn't? Because I'll guarantee you right now he regrets it. But people here won't let it go and will never let it go. That's the way people here are. That's the way sports fans are. It's not just here. Scott in Vancouver says, so they are mixing one ESPN guy with an NFL network guy? It's a mishmash, and it's always been a mishmash. Always been a mishmash, but now more than ever. This is what I said the other day. People don't understand. It's not good what they're doing. NFL purchasing 10% of ESPN, laying off a bunch of staff at NFL Network, that more until it's too late, you're going to realize how bad this is. I mean, Mina Kimes, great reporter, very nice to look at. She's now on the NFL Network. She had been on ESPN. Do I respect her football knowledge? No, I don't. And it's not just me. Her and Jeff Garcia got in a huge FU a couple of years ago. Twitter spat, and Garcia basically said, who are you to be calling out quarterbacks when you've never played the position? And he's not wrong. And the point is, it was not just, he's called out guys. But it's just, the whole point, there's guys that shouldn't be doing it either. It's not a female thing. But my point is, now they're mixing, matching people from the both networks, cutting jobs. It's not good for the industry. What else do we have here? Well, you don't, Brent's watching from Wellington, Florida, because I apologize. Well, you got me watching hockey. I'm like, it's on. Which, I mean, who in the world would literally, if there weren't two star Regina Pats coming up that were playing in that, just for everybody, it's the worldwide tournament of the best players eligible for next year's draft. And the Regina Pats have the next Sidney Crosby. That's what everybody seems to think. Maddox, Schultz, and Liam Pugh, and last night they were just working together like peas and carrots. And, yeah, I was mesmerized. And it happened to be coming back for the second period. Gord Miller goes, the Regina Pats are going to bear watching this year. I'm like, okay. He's got Button with him. I'm like, turn it up. It was good. Arlen Bruce writes in. He says, talking about being ticked off, I want to have a one-on-one sit-down with the CFL commissioner and ask him if his son had an opportunity to pursue a CFL career, would he fight for him? Free my son. Jeremy in Winnipeg says, terrible television when you have zero qualified people calling out quarterbacks. Well, I mean, Alex Smith could, but would he? Alex Smith is kind of new at this TV thing. You know, but because he played the position, I would rather listen to him. That's why I'm very hesitant, frankly. I'll let you in a little secret here. I had a CFL referee come up to me one time. It was at the Canadian Football Officials Association yearly banquet. Me and Mike Pereira were the guest speakers. Oh, my God. I could go on about this forever. It's a great story. For instance, we took questions from the crowd, and the first thing the ref said to me was, he's like, thanks for not crapping on us, man. We really love that you don't crap on us. I said, it's because I don't know the game well enough. There was hockey referees that I was told if they saw me crossing the street, they would run me over. Do you know why? Because I played it, I reffed it, I coached it, I knew it inside out, and I called them out. I never did that with football officials, and they liked it. I'd never been in their shoes. I don't call out people when I haven't been in their shoes. And that's what Mina Kimes got raked over the coals for by Alex Smith. But anyways, questions from the crowd were unbelievable because the referees from all across Canada, it was like being at a convention of cops or accountants. Not big on personality, some of these guys. So that one guy goes, had anything happen in a game that you'd never seen before? Bro, almost every game, for sure once a month. So we had Omar Morgan blocked a convert attempt, blocked it, basically a scoop and score, and he's running 110 yards, and I had no idea how many points he's going to get when he hit the end zone at the other end of the field. And all the refs are like, 2 points. How would you know that a block convert returned would be for 2 points? Who knows that? And by the way, it's not just me. Ron Bars, who I don't think still refs, but he said, I know me, Tress won't mind because we're buddies. When they keep changing all the rules and they brought in video replay, it was a really turbulent time. And the coaches didn't even know. So like Ron Bars is standing there as the line judge. He's like, Tress, you can challenge this. Oh, flag goes out. One time in Hamilton, first year, Ken Miller's standing on our coach, Grandpa Miller, Ken Miller. Players come running up to him, Zarka specifically. Coach, throw the flag, throw the flag. Miller throws the flag. Referee runs over to the sidelines. Yes, coach? Coach Miller, apparently I'm supposed to challenge the play. I'm just not sure what I'm challenging. That happened. Virginia Eric says that's the non-player in you, Rod, coming out per rank. Oh, I'm following that. The Canadians will have no idea what you're talking about, but the Americans do. Ryan Clark on ESPN said that to Peter Schrager, his co-host, and Ryan, I guess that's the karma thing. Like Ryan Clark, I was not upset to see him get fired. I was not upset. I didn't like him on the air. I didn't like the way he treated his co-hosts. Bye. Vancouver Eric says, is it okay for Pat McAfee to have an opinion on quarterbacks considering he was only a kicker? It helps. He was on the field. He was on the sidelines. He was in the room. It helps. It helps. What do you got? Hour 2, Kevin.
In today's fast-paced world, we know you don't always have time to cook a nutritious meal. The Mad Greek in Moose Jaw's got you covered with delicious takeout and delivery specials, even for large groups or occasions. Authentic Greek cuisine, pizza, ribs, and more. There's something for everyone to enjoy. Offering licensed dining, delivery, and their takeout window is open to get your Greek to go. For more information and to view the online menu, visit themadgreekeatery.com.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers, Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
How about that?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show. Leaving the station, we stop to welcome aboard the Las Vegas and Nevada viewers on Silver State Sports. Saying hello again to those tuned in on the Game Plus channel, streaming the RP Show YouTube channel, and of course, WTBC Radio, your home of sports and sports talk in West Central Georgia and Eastern Alabama. How about it? They love what we talked about here on the RP Show. How do? By the way, coming up in the guest segment today for Perry Panels is a guy that I've gotten to know quite well, and I'm pretty proud of that. Only over the last couple of years, two-time Stanley Cup champion Chris Dingman will be joining us. He won Stanley Cups with the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's from Edmonton, and I didn't realize we were this close in age. He looks a lot younger than me, I'll say this, but I was in a hotel a couple of years ago in Calgary, and my wife came to the hotel room. I don't know what we were out there for. Anyway, she goes, there's a man working out in the hotel gym, a behemoth of a man. I said, oh, okay, well, I'm put on my gym gear, went down there. It's Chris Dingman, 385 games in the NHL. First-round pick of the Calgary Flames in 1994. Played for the Flames, Avalanche, Hurricanes, and Lightning. Won the 2 cups. I'd never met him before, but we were in the dub at the same time. Know a lot of the same people. And over the next hour, we had the best talk about everything. And our political views did not align whatsoever. Our sports views did. And he did some media in Tampa Bay, too. And that's where I said to him, you are not just a bruiser. I thought you were just a big bully. You're very smart. And I meant it. As you know me, I wouldn't say it otherwise. I'm not an ass kisser. I'm not. Clearly. Anyways, we stayed in touch. He's coming on today. I will say this. He said this to me because he was doing sports talk in Tampa. He's done a little media in Edmonton. He goes, people don't care where you are or where the show's coming from. Just be good. And here we are. Dinger coming up in the next segment. If you have any questions or comments for him, Letterbuck, 902-518-3033 on the text line for Western Dodge. From trucks to SUVs, Western Dodge has what you're looking for. Visit their showroom or online at westerndodge.ca. Okay, point one is this. I've been dying since Monday. Got off the air, and my social media was rife with Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers comments. I'm like, oh, my God. As soon as I saw the video, I'm going to click on this. Let me read. I pulled this off some of the 8 million sports media blogs out there. After his scorching rant about ESPN's coverage of the Diana Rossini-Mike Vrabel scandal, ESPN had no comment on the matter in response to comments made by Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers on ESPN's Pat McAfee Show Monday. Per ProFootballTalk.com, ESPN had a no comment in response to Rodgers. However, the Steelers issued a statement to Pittsburgh's Action News 4 in response to their quarterback's comments about Dr. Anthony Fauci, in which they called the top doctor in the USA a coward. And Rogers also called ESPN a gutless organization that has no integrity. He specifically called out the network's coverage, or lack thereof, of the Rossini-Vrabel scandal. Remember, Rossini worked at ESPN before becoming the Athletic's lead NFL insider, a position she has since resigned from because of the scandal, as she was linked to the Patriots coach. And so, by the way, the poll question, why am I going through all this? I'm asking you, do you support Aaron Rodgers or not? And you're here because you're going to get my honest take every single day. I'll tell you right now, the poll question is for EMJ Marketing, Elite Keynote Speakers Bureau. EMJmarketing.com proves their roster there. 71% of you saying no, they do not support Aaron Rodgers. And that could be for a variety of reasons. I'm going to tell you right now, I can't speak for Chris Dingman, but when I say our political views don't align, I feel like he would not at all agree with Rod. I can't speak for him. And I'm not going to ask him. I'm not going to talk politics with him when he joins us. We're going to talk hockey. But with as far as Rodgers is concerned and all his thoughts about COVID and being anti-vax and all that, a lot of my thoughts do align with that. But I did get vaccinated because for me to broadcast hockey on television, which I did back during that COVID time, I had to get vaccinated. And for whatever reason, it was a lot of football players, more than any other sport. Football players just weren't getting vaccinated, which is fine. But I had one get up in my face. Remember how? You're not supposed to ask whether you're, some things ran through my mind that I just was warned by my inner voice not to say. You just weren't supposed to ask if somebody was vaccinated or not, but my buddies don't care. So one guy, Hall of Fame football guy, got in my face. Did you get vaccinated? Yes, I did. So you caved. Get out of my face. I had to work. If you don't, you work for yourself. So good for you. I had to. But I'm just saying my views on it align with Aaron Rodgers, and I don't really like the way ESPN's doing things now either. But I wouldn't go on ESPN or my buddy's show to rip the network that he's on. And for that reason, it's no, I don't support Aaron Rodgers. Unbelievably disrespectful to go on his buddy's show and rip his buddy's bosses. That's why I don't support him. That's all. That's why I voted no. And some of, well, on our Instagram poll, 75% have voted yes. So maybe that's the difference between the age of the people that are voting on Instagram versus YouTube. And maybe it has nothing to do with age. I'm not sure. But that's the poll question today. And that's what I have to say about Aaron Rodgers. I don't think his views are out of line. Where he's chosen to say them, incredibly out of line. Okay? Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Oh, the warm-up is brought to you by Uniglobe Carefree Travel Group. Will you do me a favor and go follow them on social media? They are the preferred travel partner of the Rod Pedersen Show and the CFL's BC Lions. When it comes to sports trips, group travel, or your next great getaway, trust the pros who handle every detail so you can enjoy the journey. Contact Neil Chark with Uniglobe Carefree Travel. There are a lot of other things going on in sports. As a matter of fact, I just skipped past. Here's our NFL training camp tour. Copy down all the headlines from ESPN.com. Two-time Pro Bowler Bijan Robinson and the Atlanta Falcons reached agreement on a 3-year extension worth up to $75 million that will now make him the highest-paid running back in NFL history. What the players will say to that, good for him. So that means everybody's going to get paid eventually. Bears safety Kobe Bryant out 8 to 10 weeks. Report. Wide receiver A.J. Brown shakes off dislocated thumb at Patriots camp. So he's still playing despite being injured. That's a great news out of Patriots camp. I was saying to the viewers, how much of the NFL training camp coverage did you watch on NFL Network yesterday? Because I was just stapled to the couch. My baseball team wasn't playing, for which I broadcast. And Monday night off, I'm watching NFL Network, and I love the coverage out of Patriots camp. I love the coverage out of 49ers camp. And I'm just trying to figure out why the Cleveland Browns had GoPros strapped to their helmets. Viewer, I feel like Jason and Red Deer. We need to get you an outfit. Captain Obvious. We need to get you the hat, the red jacket. Captain Obvious. Because I'm assuming it has something to do with their reads on what they're seeing. Thanks, Captain Obvious. I'm just saying they're the only team out of 32 teams in the NFL that are doing this. Why? Sean Payton to talk to former Saint Taysom Hill about joining Broncos. And Panthers remain mum on extension for quarterback Bryce Young. So those are some of the NFL training camp stories as we sit on this Tuesday. Point 2. Detroit Tigers president of baseball operations Scott Harris blamed himself for putting the team in a position to trade generational ace Tarek Skubal, but lauded the prospects he received from the LA Dodgers in exchange. Harris also took exception to the notion that he should have waited until closer to the trade deadline to maximize Skubal's return. That's from, I don't remember where I got that from today, but I'm just sitting there going, you wonder why these guys make all the money. That's why. They got to sit there. They have very tough jobs. And when they fail, because more teams fail than succeed, they got to answer the questions, the tough questions. So that's what Scott Harris did yesterday. And we got to get Lou Gamelin on from the 12-Ounce Sports Network in Michigan because he's a huge Tigers fan. And going into the year, they had such high hopes. But you know baseball. You're not going to do it on the back of one guy. And that's what happened. So the reporter's like, why'd you fail? We didn't plan to. Why didn't you get more in the trade? This is all they were offering. That's that whole, remind me when we have more time. I'll tell you the old sports story about the 3 envelopes in the door. When things get real bad, open the first envelope. Blame the media. It's a good joke. For the Blue Jays fans, 2.2b, when things get even worse, open the second envelope. Blame the past regime. When things get really, really, really bad, open the third envelope. Prepare 3 envelopes. You're done. Alejandro Kirk homered, Jesus Sanchez and Ernie Clement each had an RBI, and the Toronto Blue Jays beat Houston 3-1 Monday night, snapping the Astros' 6-game win streak. Shane Bieber bounced back after walking a career-high 6 batters while just getting 2 outs in his last start. He tied a season high with 9 hits allowed, but gave up just 1 run with 2 walks over 5 2/3 innings. I didn't watch it. I was watching the NFL Network. The NFL's back. So thanks, Blue Jays, for entertaining me for a couple of months. That maybe will be Thursday's poll question, because today's poll question for EMJ Marketing is, do you support Aaron Rodgers? 71% of you say no. Wednesday's poll question will be, what's Canada's game of the week in the Canadian Football League, which, by the way, we're getting to that next. But maybe Thursday's poll question, can you all remind me, will you be watching the Blue Jays the rest of the year? Because for me, it's a big no. Nope. We are in a time and an era in the world where there's a lot of other things on, including my forensic files. So if the Jays aren't contending, I'm not watching. But that's the difference. Call me a fair weather fan if you want. I don't care. You know, I watch every Florida Panthers game, win or lose, no matter where they are in the standings. As many Tampa Bay Lightning games as I can. Which, by the way, shout out to all the Bolts fans that have tuned in. They're all excited to see Chris Dingman coming up in our next segment. Dinger. Yes, 1:11 Eastern for the live viewing audience, 11:11 Mountain. Jason in Red Deer says, are there still Blue Jays fans this season? Well, you got to look around to find them. Oh, thank you. Hall of Fame game Thursday, Jeremy from Winnipeg writes in. Jeremy, thank you for that, the local Kansas City Chiefs fan, because I'm skipping ahead. I'll get to the CFL stuff later, and actually the NHL too. There's going to be a lot of NHL talk coming up with Chris Dingman next. So I went 1A, Aaron Rodgers, 1B, NFL training camp tour, 2, Detroit Tigers president and the Blue Jays. So point 3, 5 men will become part of Pro Football Hall of Fame immortality on Saturday when quarterback Drew Brees, running back Roger Craig, wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald, linebacker Luke Kuechly, and kicker Adam Vinatieri will have their bronze busts unveiled during their induction ceremony in Canton, Ohio, with Brees and Fitzgerald having the ultimate honor of going in on the first ballot. Conversely, Craig has waited more than a quarter century for his gold jacket after finishing his 11-year career with the Vikings. Okay, another highlight of my year. There are several, but one of those is plunking my ass down on the couch on a Saturday to watch all of the speeches as much as I can. We're going to be we got a playoff baseball game that night, so I'll be taping it. The whole spectacle, and hope that they have good weather in Canton. all the Hall of Famers coming out in their gold blazers. When you sit there and you listen to the speeches, come on, folks, it's like a how-to of life if the speech is good. Like Michael Irvin, the whole get up, show up, and don't you ever give up. Tears streaming down his face. The playmaker. All those speeches are so good. Larry Fitzgerald, just so you know, friend of mine, met him at, I'll be posting a photo between now and Saturday. He was a season ticket holder for the Arizona Coyotes, and that's when my friend Gary owned the Coyotes. So Fitz was a regular in the suite. And I remember one night the Pittsburgh Penguins were there. It was Larry Fitzgerald bobblehead night. I got to find that bobblehead. It was awesome. Larry Fitzgerald in a Coyotes uniform. Yep. And I sat in that suite, and we talked, and I didn't know until that night that his dad was the newspaper writer covering the Vikings for years and years and years in Minneapolis. Not that that's overly shocking, but have you seen a lot of newspaper writers? They don't usually spawn Hall of Fame wide receivers. And certainly not the ones like Larry Fitzgerald. 6'3", 235, maybe more, and just run. Oh, my God. It's going to be special to see Larry go in on Saturday. One of the highlights of my year. A lot of them have to do with their NFL coverage. Training camp, back together weekend, all of that, Super Bowl coverage. Man, they do it right. I wish they would do it more, but that's the one thing about the NFL. You think it's all NFL all the time, but it's not. And when they do it better than anybody. By the way, Chris Dingman coming up. I'm going to read it right now. We won't waste time. His resume for when he comes on. 385 NHL games, Calgary Flames, Colorado Avalanche, Carolina Hurricanes, Tampa Bay Lightning, winner of 2 Stanley Cups, first-round pick of the Calgary Flames in 1994, spent his entire junior career with the Brandon Wheat Kings, where he played for Golden Knights general manager Kelly McCrimmon. And that's one of the things, because Dinger wanted to know what we were going to talk about today. I said, what's Crim really like? All those great stories. Because we're on the air in Vegas, Silver State Sports, so that'll be good. Brought to you by Prairie Panels. Are you building a shop, barn, rink, or commercial space? Prairie Panels provides high-quality insulated wall and roof panels designed for durability and energy efficiency. For prairiepanels.ca is the place to go to visit them, or call 306-985-0050. How are we doing on time, Producer Corey? If you have any questions or comments...
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's the RP Show, Silver State Sports Game Plus streaming podcast and WQVZ. We welcome Chris Dingman to the show. We read off his resume prior to the break, so let's cut right to it. Dinger, how has the summer been, my friend, the summer of 2026?
It's been pretty good. It's gone a little bit too fast, but yeah, just work, a little bit of golf, hanging out with the kids. Nothing too crazy.
I know your social media is always a treat to follow, and you got a doctor in the family. And you turned the big 5-0. That's some pretty big moments in the summer of 2026.
Yeah. I made it to 50, so I guess that's a bit of a miracle, maybe medical miracle. And then, I know my wife getting her PhD. She's worked pretty hard for it. So I don't want to say pretty hard. She's worked really hard for it. So I don't understand a lot of it. It's in English, creative writing. She did her dissertation. She was explaining it to me, and man, I got a lot to learn. I was trying, but pretty interesting how the thesis, and there was some Freud stuff, and it all related back to poetry and the meaning in the poetry and stuff. And to tell you, if I have a really important email, I make sure she proofreads it. That's for sure.
Yeah, don't use ChatGPT like everybody else. But congratulate her for me, please, because that sounds incredibly difficult to achieve. And as I said, I was telling a story a couple times earlier when you and I worked out together in the hotel. I was like, you're a smart guy. You're not. I just thought you were a big brawler. And I just figured that we would have a fun time talking NHL. As you're sitting there in Edmonton, you grew up there. I mean, it's all Oilers all the time. I'll start there. You never played for them, but you can't not follow them. How do you think they're going to make out here in this critical time in their history?
I think it'd go one of two ways. I think it was interesting. Just I've never played for Mike Babcock. Played against him, obviously. I think he was a coach in Spokane when I was in Brandon. And I know Kelly McCrimmon's brother, Brad McCrimmon. He was a longtime assistant coach with him, and obviously the game was a lot different back, in our era. Let's say when I played, coaching styles were a lot different for sure. You look at a guy like John Cooper now, where I remember he said you coach 23 different ways. You don't coach one way, and a lot of the coaches I had were pretty intense, and there was a lot of yelling and a lot of screaming. And when your top guys sign off on a coach, I mean, it's good. The organization, obviously there's got to be some communication with your leaders. And, the only thing I'll say is careful what you wish for in the fact that, and I've only heard a few of the comments. I don't talk to Connor McDavid or Draisaitl or, any of those guys. I talked to Paul Coffey a little bit as he's an owner. He's an original investor in the company I work for, E360. But, when guys are like, oh, we want them to be hard on us, and we, and stuff like that, it's like, Well, I've had a lot of coaches that were really hard on me, and I wasn't a guy that didn't work hard. Like I was always top 10, top 5 in conditioning, and I got screamed at, I got benched. I played for Harley, I played for Tortorella, and I'll tell you, it's not a good mental state to be in when you're worried about getting benched for sure. So, we'll see how it works out, but those guys want to be pushed, and you want to be pushed. Again, just be careful. I mean, it could be really good. I mean, maybe Babcock's changed, and again, I never played for him. Obviously, there's some guys that are pretty vocal against him, and we've all had coaches we really like, and we've all had coaches we didn't like. And going back to Brandon, I had Bobby Lowe's, and Bobby Lowe's was tough. He was intense and he was tough, but it was great because he was tough on everybody. And I think we all needed it, especially when you're younger and you think you know everything, and you're a little cocky. I remember I showed up to training camp when I was just turned 16, and I played drums too, and I'm a music guy, and I had like 3 earrings on the bottom and one up top. I thought I was cool, and I showed up to camp, and he was like, "Yeah, hey Dinger, how's it going?" I'm like, "Good, yeah." He's like, "Nice earrings." I was like, "Oh, thanks." He's like, "You don't think you're keeping those, do you?" And I was like, well, I don't know. He's like, "Not if you're gonna have to play here, get those friggin' things out of your head." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll tell you what, it was pretty black and white is what was allowed and what wasn't allowed." So anyways, I had 4 great years, and it was great, but there was a few times where there was a few F-bombs and different things. So
You were worried what we were going to talk about. That's one question, and you just covered all these great things, which these days, just think about this, Dinger. You ask a player to take an earring out of his ear, you would be called up in front of a board. That you couldn't do that now.
yeah, I just go back to, not to rip on Toronto, but years ago when those guys were, I think it was Matthews and Nylander, and I played with Willie's dad, Michael, and he was a different guy. But when you're worried about wearing a suit and what you're allowed to wear to games, like I like wearing a suit. I love wearing a suit on the road, and because I think people kind of knew you played a sport or something, and I don't know, you look good, feel good, and whatever. And when you're worried about, and you're complaining about wearing a suit to the game, I mean, you're worried about the wrong things. And then the earrings and stuff, and everyone's wearing a chain now. And I have boys that play junior, and I kind of asked them, like, if I was playing, I was kind of a dick, to be honest with you. If there was a guy wearing a chain and there was a scrum, what do you think I'm doing first whistle? I'm just like right in there, and I'm going to grab it. I'm going to rip that thing off. I'm going to toss it. Much like I think Tom Wilson did to, I think it was Matthew Tkachuk. Remember, he grabbed his mouth guard and tossed it into the stands. I thought that was great. If it's not in your mouth, I would have grabbed it and ripped it too. So, yeah, it's the whole earring thing, and I mean, whatever. People want to express themselves and stuff, but I like the way Tampa does things. Look at those guys, and not just because I played there, but that leadership went on through Marty St. Louis to Stamkos and Hedman, and you see those guys wheeling into games. They got the fedoras on or the top hats and stuff, but they're wearing 3-piece suits and stuff, and they look good. They look professional, and they've been a good team. And it's just I don't know, the whole chains and earrings, and I don't know, if I knew a guy had an earring, what do you think I'd do? I'd just be banging that thing right into his head. So I don't know if you've ever had an earring ripped out of your head, but I've seen guys that have had, and it does. I don't imagine it feels very well. So I would
my
not
dad
be wearing them.
This did not come up that day in the days in Calgary, but my dad worked in the NHL for 26 years, and he was also a farmer rancher, Dinger. So he said to me, if you ever come home with an earring, don't come home. And that was the end of that. So that probably won't, kind of tells you how I was raised. But, look, this could go on for hours, and I don't want to, and it would be great. We did talk about Babcock that day, and I don't want to betray your confidence. That was a private conversation, but basically you did say in some of those instances, you said, was he wrong? Like guys were mad they were scratched. You were like, maybe you should have been scratched. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not entirely against his methods.
No, I don't. Like, it's, again, I don't, like, I've talked every time I saw him, he was like, "Hi Chris, how you doing?" Shook my hand, and I never played for him, so I can't speak what it was like playing for him, but I played for coaches that were very similar, and the whole Mike Modano thing and some of that other stuff. Like, yeah, should you have played him so you could get to 1,500? Absolutely, but I don't know the situation at the time, if they were trying to get in the playoffs and seeding and stuff, and obviously Mike's one of the best players to ever play the game, but if you're coaching to win and you don't feel he gives you the best opportunity to win, if you get fired, it's not like he's going to go, oh man, you played me and got fired. I'm going to take care of your mortgage for a year. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's tough. I mean, I've coached all different levels. I've coached U18, U15, all the way down to, tidbits and stuff. And coaching's hard. I remember over the years, there's times I felt bad where, and I played everybody when I coached. Sometimes you shorten the bench a little bit, but I wasn't one of those coaches who would play two lines and 4D and stuff like that. But there were times I felt bad, and there were other times where I didn't go with my first instinct. And then not that it came back to bite me, because you never know. You could put players out and change goalies and do whatever, and change things. It might work and it might not. But, not trusting my instincts, I was like, man, I should have went with my initial whatever. And, as far as, I know Mike Commodore, he's a good guy. He's a personality and whatever and all that stuff. And he's got a lot of stories, and, there's some truth to him for sure. But if you don't show up to camp in shape, that's your one job. That's your number one job as a player, as an athlete, is to show up to camp in shape. And if you don't show up to camp in shape, there's a problem. And I remember, there was in Tampa, there was a Russian guy. I can't remember his name, but where we had to do training camp with Tortorella was tough. We would do 6 times 3 laps, 2.5 minutes in between. Then we did a 3-mile run that night. Then we did 3 times 15 laps. And then we did all the bench press and the long jump and all the other testing and stuff. And I remember Rudy Postchek was making a comeback, and he was doing the 15 lapper, and he was like, oh man, he had the cramp, and guys were, just encouraging him and stuff. But there was this Russian player, and he was dying. I was laughing at him, and whatever. And I remember talking to Craig Ramsey, or one of the assistant coaches, and we were talking about it. And, in camp and stuff, my understanding, and talking to a few different coaches, that they all sit around, they talk about players. Like, what do you think of, Rod Pedersen? Oh, he's a great guy, whatever, blah, 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 this and that. What do you think of Chris England? Same thing. And they're going around, and Torts is very black and white and doesn't mince words or any of that stuff. And, they were talking about this Russian player, and it was like, he was like, what the, whatever. And I guess the scout was like, wow. He said he was playing a lot of soccer in the summer and stuff. And he was like, what, goalie? And so he was in such bad shape that, if I remember correctly, he made him ride the bike and put the bike right in front of the glass, on the side of the, so we're all practicing and playing and whatever. And this poor kid's riding the bike and watching us all, whatever. But it was a lesson, and then I guess it's like anything, you have rules, you have expectations. And, I don't know. I don't know if the guy was back the next year or whatnot, but I would have hoped, if whatever camp he went to, I can't remember if he came back, but I could almost guarantee if he came back to camp in not good shape, he was a total idiot. If that's what's going to happen, because again, that's your job. So, it's interesting. It'll definitely be interesting. There's, stories over the years of different guys not being in shape. I mean, I was talking to sports psychologist Max Weinberg, Dr. Maxey, and he was telling me a story about Grant Fear back in the day. And, Fears, he was such a good guy, and he came to camp. He was like 10 or 15 pounds overweight and something like that. I don't know the exact number, but, back then, a lot of guys would come to camp, and, that's how they would kind of get into shape. And I guess, say their Slats the one year was, I don't know if it was hard on him trying to embarrass him, but he's running stairs. Everyone else is on the ice and he's running stairs. And his point was Fears, he was such a good guy that he was just like, whatever. So he just was running stairs, and he was telling me a story about how he had a tab at this bar in Edmonton, and, and he just had an open tab for the whole year. And it was kind of a joke amongst the team, is that guys would have drinks and they put it on his tab. And they were all going to pay at the end of the year, but in Fears, he didn't even look at it. At the end of the year, he got his tab was like $75,000 or something, and he just paid it. And he didn't say a word to anyone. And he's like, everyone went to pay. The guy, the guy who owned it, or the bartender or manager or whatever, is like, oh, he already covered it. And guys were like, oh my God, it just felt like total crap, because, he paid the bill. And he's like, oh, it's just Fearsy. That was just whatever. So
he's that guy.
Yeah.
Hey,
he was that guy.
The name Ruslan Fedotenko popped into my mind. Was that the Russian you're referring to?
No.
Okay. It was the guy that never played. Okay.
Yeah, no, Fez was in good shape. Yeah, no, he still, we were back 3 or 4 years ago for the 5 years ago. We were back for the 20th anniversary. I think it was 2004, whatever it was, however many years ago. What are we in 2026? Yeah. So, anyways, we saw him. He still looks the same. he looks the exact same. He's like in great shape, like rosy cheeks, still can't grow facial hair. But he grew up like just outside of Chernobyl, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But we were
Right.
asking him questions about. Oh yeah,
Played
like
in
he hasn't
Melfort.
aged at all,
Played in
man.
Melfort. I think
Yeah,
that's got something to do with it too. By the way, you mentioned Tampa a couple times, and I wanted to bring this, and you were worried about what we were going to talk about. I'm not even going to catch you,
no, I
Dinger. I'm
wasn't
not going to
worried.
catch you off
No,
guard.
no.
No, good. I knew, like I said, you can handle it. When John Tortorella was hired in Vegas, what did you think? What was your first thought?
Dude, he'll get the most out of him for however long a period. I actually texted Krimmer. We don't talk all the time, but I texted him here and there when he was in town. I texted him when I went up to the press box and chatted with him, and because Krimmer's a big part of my life and my career, and a great hockey mind and a great family. And I just texted him like, hey, coaching change or whatever, and he's like, well, we weren't getting the results we thought we should be getting, and I don't know if he said, "What do you think?" or something, or what do you like? I think he said, "Like, what do you think, or what do you expect?" And I said, "Well, he'll get the most out of guys," and he did for the most. Obviously they went on a run; it wasn't the result they wanted, but he got the most out of guys for the most part. I think the only thing you could critique was, you had Aiden Hill sitting on the bench, and he had won a cup before. Like, you could have went to him in whatever game it was. I don't know if it was like 4 or 5. They were losing by like 3 or 4. But he was going to stick with his goalie. Carter Hart was his goalie, and he was going to stick with him. But if it was me, I think the one mistake is, Torts and his stubbornness, and love him, hate him, whatever. He's not afraid to get fired. He'll do things his way, and I think he could have really, in that game, he could have switched goalies, went with Aiden Hill. Might have worked, might have not. Then you go back to, Carter, or you just go with him another game. But I think that was the one thing, his stubbornness really, I think, maybe hurt him a little bit. But, they went on a good run and could have won.
Well, I always look at it. I was a goalie. Once a goalie, always a goalie. I look at it from the goalie perspective. I think that one game they got shut out. So we always say, what's changed the goalie going to do? You couldn't score any goals. But with the way Kelly's running things there, do you sit back and laugh? Because I do. I mean, we saw it in the dub forever. When we played you guys, you specific, I hated playing you because I'm like, Dinger's going to fill the net. He's going to hurt some of our guys, which you usually did. And what Kelly's doing the same thing in Vegas he did in Brandon. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think, in Brandon, those teams, I think, I think he built through the draft quite a bit, and then trades too.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I went there through a trade. I believe it was Chris Osgood. They traded 4 guys for Chris Osgood, and there was a protected list or some list. They're allowed to pick a player. And I remember it was funny because I was decimated when I got traded because I wanted to go to Seattle, home of grunge. I was a drummer and stuff, and then I get traded to Brandon. I'm like, where's Brandon? And I look it up. Manitoba, 42,000 people. I'm like, oh my God. I wanted to quit, and I thought, Seattle didn't want me, but Brandon really wanted me. And I think it was Russ Farrell was the GM of Seattle back in the day. And I ran into him
Mr.
at a
Slate.
game in Tampa. Yeah, I ran into him at a game in Tampa about 10 years ago. And he came up to me. He's like, hey, Chris, how's it going? Russ Farrell, whatever. He goes, I just want to tell you, Kelly, I'm still mad about that deal. Kelly effed us on that one. So, he's a smart guy. And, I think just the way he's built his team, like, you look at the draft and, you never know how players are going to pan out. It all depends on the development in the team and what they do with the player. And, I think the way Krim's looking at it, the way he has is like, if I remember correctly, it was like he looked at teams that were in cap trouble, which a lot of teams were, and he went, well, I want this player. But I'll take this player in a 5th rounder or 2nd rounder, and I'll take this guy instead. So he's made some really good deals and, made some good trades and, kind of did it that way rather than just going through this whole rebuild and being, terrible for a bunch of years and drafting players and waiting for him to hopefully develop. So, he's, I just look at all the coaches he's gone through and, every time he's made a change, it's worked. So, there's expectations, and his expectations are high. And I guess, that's part of hockey. Is it you bring a coach in, you expect results. If you feel you put the team, or you've assembled a team that you think can win, and if they're not winning, you're not going to fire yourself, right? Or maybe you will, but probably not.
You're gonna make a change.
You start with the coach, and then if that doesn't work, and every time he has, it's worked. So.
They're going to kick us off the air here right away. So, Chris, I appreciate this chat. Oh, we got one more minute? Okay, I appreciate that. 1 minute from now. All right. Thank you, man. Well, this has been a wonderful trip down memory lane. We covered it all, Chris. So enjoy the rest of the summer. Maybe we'll get you on in the fall and see how this order thing goes. But I appreciate this and all the best up there in the City of Champions. I'll always call it that.
Yeah, we'll do. Anytime. Thanks so much.
Great job. Thank you. 2-time Stanley Cup champion, Chris Dingman. I can't think that ever gets old joining us from Edmonton, Alberta. We'll be right back. Your thoughts on that are more than welcome. 902-518-3033 on the Western Dodge text line. We will be back in a moment, or as well, the YouTube chat. We will be back. You're watching the RP Show on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network across Las Vegas and Nevada. Of course, on WQVZ Radio, West Central Georgia, Eastern Alabama, podcast and Game Plus streaming.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote your rebel, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Oh, it's weird. This show's going exactly the way that I thought that it would. Doesn't usually go that way. Wonderful chat with Chris Dingman and a lot of talk of Aaron Rodgers. That's what's on the thumbnail when the live viewers clicked on the live streaming. And by the way, if you're watching, give us a like on the Game Plus YouTube channel or our own. Apparently that helps us out a lot. Some guy tried to, I think it comes with age, wisdom, that huge trap, that rabbit hole, that trap that's got leaves over it. Some guy just tried to suck me into the trap. In the break, I just popped onto Facebook to see what's going on. And you know, the Nevada Wolfpack great who lives in Reno, Cody Fajardo, is leading his Edmonton Elcamos into Montreal Saturday in the CFL Game of the Week. And I will always stand up for Cody. I love him. If you know him, you would too. And there was some guy on Facebook here, and on our page, go to the Rod Pedersen Show. If you love this show and you can't get enough of it in the 2 hours that we're on the air every day, 1 hour in Nevada, go to our Facebook page because the debate rages there. And so some guy, Scott from Winnipeg, was warning everybody. There's two sides to Cody. And I just said, I wrote incorrect. And he writes me back and says, well, let's talk about this. How about let's not? Here's today's life lesson. There's two sides to all of us. Try me. You'll see a side that you won't like at all. So that if there is two sides to Cody Fajardo, he's no different than everybody else. And all that is called backbone, bro. Quit trying to start something. 902-518-3033 is the text line. Speaking of that, Wayne in BC writes in and he says, hey, I really like Cody Fajardo. I didn't like the way he was railroaded out of Saskatchewan, but it was for his and the riders' benefit. I was thinking about that this morning as I was making my bed. I'm like, at least it's not his home province. At least it's not his hometown. Bye. Did some great things. See ya. Like winning MVP of the West Division. By the way, Wayne in BC says, hey, Rod, I've never been that interested in the preseason of any league, whether it's CFL, NFL, or NHL, but once they start playing games, I'm all in. That is a different strokes for different folks. There was a TV show about that. I am into the preseason. I will tune in the Hall of Fame game from Canton, Ohio, which I'm actually really excited about watching that game, but also something else Thursday night, and that is our team year-ending awards banquet. We do it every year with our baseball team. You're realizing now, I don't even need to explain to you why I love it so much. The playoffs start Friday. We got home field, and it is at the team president's house, and we have all the sponsors, all the billets, everyone, the team there. It's huge. It's got a big backyard. And I remember the start of the year, Daryl, our team president, getting up and just saying, we got a lot of new players here. We have a 70% turnover from last year. Just so you all know, we win. That's the expectation. And we went and just set a franchise record for wins Sunday, added to it last night. We're going to the playoffs rolling. I love it. So we'll have the barbecue, get the photos, hand out the year-end awards, and then go kick some ass in the playoffs. And I'll be watching the Hall of Fame game later that night. David, number 2, writes in from Winnipeg, 902-518-3033. He says, good morning, Rod. We're airing in prime time in Vegas, as you know. The problem with a lot of the on-air TV talent, as mentioned by others, is they have no practical experience with the sports they cover. It seems they were chosen because they are good on camera. I really like analysts like Luke Wilson, former Seattle Seahawk, as he truly understands the game. I think ESPN knows that people like Aaron Rodgers usually stir up controversy. Personally, I prefer those who stick to the game, more like Tony Romo and others. Well, here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers isn't an analyst. He's a player. That's number one. Number two, I just have a very tough time believing that ESPN would be okay with Aaron Rodgers coming on their channel and calling them gutless. And what else? I have it here. Whatever. You get it. That's the poll question today. No integrity. That's what it is. Trust me. I don't know how much, we don't have a lot of time left in this segment. We don't have a whole lot of time to get into it. But I'm okay with the fact that things change. I'm more than okay with that. Because our viewers, most of you know by now, I would hope, if you've been watching this show for a minute, that I'm what do you got, Corey? 30, a licensed, certified mental health and addiction recovery coach. Well, the people that have been doing that for 30 years, they don't like me. Because I have my own way of doing it, and it's different than the way they did it for 30 years. The difference is, I'm getting the same results they are, if not better, but things change. I'm okay with it. So things have changed in broadcasting. Things have changed in sports. We all need to be okay with it. We'll be right back with Overtime right after this.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. All right, welcome back, everybody, for Overtime. Caught me off guard there, but that's okay. Okay, so for Overtime Hockey Lanes, I can say it now. Wednesday, August the 19th, we'll be broadcasting the RP Show live from Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. And Stanley Cup champion Colin Patterson, Calgary Flames, Buffalo Sabres alum, will be with us down at Overtime Hockey Lanes that day. For sure, he'll be on in the Canadian Hour. I'll see if I get him to stay for a little bit into the U.S. Hour on Silver State Sports. But come on down, Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Batting cages in baseball, driving ranges in golf. Why wouldn't hockey have shooting lanes? Well, they do. Calgary, 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. Come on down, say hi. Randy always, and Michelle, put out treats and so forth. It's always a lot of fun. Wednesday, August the 19th. Eric, Virginia Eric writes in, appreciate you. He says, great interview and great show, Rod. I love listening during work. Makes it more enjoyable. Thank you. Makes it more enjoyable, his work. Chris Stegman's a hell of a guy, eh? I like him a lot. My kind of guy. It's why we get along. Rich in Edmonton says, hopefully some shrimp on the Barbie for that team barbecue Thursday night. Here's the thing. This is the way I live. I'm not telling anybody else to live this way. I'm not going with any expectations. I never even thought about what would be served. When you have no expectations, you can't be let down. Bazinga. Again, not telling anybody else to live that way. It's just how I live. Just happy to be fed. Thanks for having me over. Thanks for having me part of your team. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, I believe a year from now, Edmonton Oilers' locker room will be scorched earth. Says the Calgary guy. Sports update. MLS owners have elected LAFC co-owner Larry Berg as the league's next commissioner. Berg will succeed Don Garber, who has held the position since 1999, and will remain in the role through the end of the season. Mauricio Pochettino has agreed to a new contract to remain as the U.S. men's national team's head coach through the 2030 World Cup. Despite the team's ugly exit last month, Pac's 3 World Cup wins are the most ever by a U.S. MNT head coach. The Phillies have one too many infielders following Monday's acquisition of Luis Reyes, so Bryce Harper will be moving from first base to his former position in right field for the remainder of the season. Alex Ela upset top-seeded Jessica Pegula in the D.C. Open final to become the first Filipino tennis player, man or woman, to win a singles title. On the men's side, Taylor Fritz defeated Rafael Jodar for his 11th career title. Chris Bosh said that he almost dropped dead from a blood clot in January and urged Victor Wembanyama to stay on top of his condition, which forced him to miss nearly half of the 2024-25 season. Take your medicine, Bosh said. Make sure that doesn't happen again because it only takes one more time, unquote. Why is that in the sports update? Who cares? I feel like that should be a conversation between just the two of them. The sports update is for the Ultimate Fan Zone. Shop Ultimate Fan Zone, your authentic MLB fan store for official jerseys, hats, T-shirts, hoodies, and more. Game day every day at UFZ. I got this Blue Jays shirt there. I got my Las Vegas Raiders jacket there. My Vegas Golden Knights jacket there. They have everything you need. I wouldn't steer you wrong at the Ultimate Fan Zone. Now, you all are going to hate me for dropping this just before the end of the show, but as I sat there and read that sports update without ever having looked at it before it came out of my mouth, it reminded me of Ron Burgundy. You've all watched The Anchorman, where he just reads what's on the teleprompter, which really what we all do. I mean, remember, go F yourself, San Diego. Files his papers. Didn't even realize he said it. And the reason I bring that up is Zig Fracassi, the other day, our friend from NFL Radio, he's been on here multiple times. He says that Will Ferrell is not funny. And I actually wrote Zig and I said, we can't be friends. Come on. Old School was a cinegraphic masterpiece. Anchorman, Talladega Nights. Get out of here, Will Ferrell's not funny. I mean, at the very least, he's a great actor. I mean, that's why you guys said you're not going to watch the Canton Hall of Fame game Thursday, which fine, don't. But for the people that didn't watch the Home Run Derby, you missed the interaction between Pat McAfee and Will Ferrell on the field. McAfee was leaving the field, Will Ferrell was walking on, and McAfee turned to him and was like, "Thanks for all you've done for me." He meant making movies, and Will Ferrell looked at him and was shocked and stunned. He's like, "I try. I do my best." But that's the best you can come up with? That's not that funny. But that's not to say he's not a stand-up comic. He's an actor. And he's hilarious. Will Ferrell is funny. Right, Jason and Red, we're going streaking. Oh, my God. The other day, I was doing a Frank the Tank in the press box at the Millers game. I can't even remember why. Oh, because our old DJ, his name was Frank, and I called him Frank the Tank. They made a change. We got a new DJ. I don't know whether the new one's better or not. His name's Chumley. He's pretty good, but Frank the Tank was pretty good too. So I just started doing when everybody lost it in the booth. Yeah, we're going streak to the quad, past the gymnasium. Cinegraphic masterpiece. Eric. This is not Vancouver, Eric. It's Virginia, Eric. He says, the Phillies are good. I ain't a fan. No, because they're in the same division as your team, the Washington Nationals. What about Clark Wilm? Yeah, Frank the Tank. Exactly. We're going to make a day of it. Little Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. Brent in the Bridge City. Enjoy the show again today, Rod. Hope you have a wonderful day, YouTube, because that's all we do here is want to make people's days brighter. That's another thing I had written down here. Some of the guests, because I'm dealing with DraftKings, some of their official spokespeople will be coming up on here through the PR world. Ricky Ricardo, the voice of the Yankees and the Eagles. Johnny Avello, my buddy Steve Milton from the Ticats. Yeah, we'll see. I don't even know who's up tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you then.
That.